Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The West Coast Avengers number 44, written and penciled by John Byrne and inked by Mike Matchlin, I think is how you pronounce it. And I want to talk about him when we get inside, about the inker. All right, this is from 1989. Now, this issue is ahead of my Captain America run, so I just want to warn you that we are farther ahead here. So when stuff happens at the end, just know I haven't covered that yet, but will eventually. As I'm going through, I do Captain America about every 2 weeks, so I will eventually catch up. But for now, we're farther ahead. I like the screen tones being used. John Byrne does this cover by himself, and again using screen tones, which I always point out, which I love. Better a Widow, and we see here Hawkeye and Wonder Man with Hank Pym here fighting the Vision. So why does he look like this? We're gonna have to find out inside. So I have a playlist. Feel free to check it out. I have an Avengers playlist, and this is where this is located at. So Better a Widow, and we see here the Vision. He has been completely dismantled here, and here we have our cast here. Howard Mackie would eventually be the #1 writer in Spider-Man, and Tom DeFalco wasn't editor-in-chief too long before he was replaced by Bob Harris. So this is John Byrne's return to Marvel after he left Superman. So Scarlet Witch just can't believe what has happened to the Vision here. And these doctors are like, what the heck is the Scarlet Witch doing here? And then they were like, I thought the Avengers were going to keep busy while we... And then the Scarlet Witch is like, while you what? What have you done to him? And Mockingbird says, Wanda, they've erased him. And Scarlet Witch repeats it, erased. And she says, yes, after all, that's what this whole kidnap scheme was about. The Vision once tapped into every computer system on Earth, took control of them. And the people who tricked me into helping them plan the Vision's kidnapping said it was all a contingency plan in case he ever tried to do it again. But, and look at all the, he's also very, very wordy here. It turns out it wasn't just a contingency plan, but I think it was their motive, the same, to strip the Vision of all data he might have picked up from their security networks. But Mockingbird, you said this was a KGB operation. Why would the Soviet erase the Vision's banks? Hemping said the Vision would be more use to them with his memory intact. Of course, off-panel, Wonder Man says he would if this was really a KGB job. So, real quick about this costume for Wonder Man, and I will get to the inker in a moment, or in a few moments here. What do you guys think of this? I have a little bit of fond memory of this, but I really love his original green and red costume. They've tried different costumes with him, and I don't know, there's just something about the original green and red that I don't know. I love it anyway. Anyway, he of course has a very 90s mullet here. So anyway, Wonder Man says, but it isn't, not entirely anyway. And so Wonder Man is bringing along somebody here. Love the screen tones again. So Um, so right here, I'm gonna go and get into Mike Matchlin, and I'm gonna show you guys later. But look at his style. He doesn't do necessarily the normal ink. He does a lot of hatching, which I found to be very unique, and you're gonna see later on. But this dude is a hatcher. And the thing is, with where comic books were heading, particularly with the Image, I'm just surprised this guy didn't do more. He just isn't someone out there whose work is very familiar outside of this. I always remember this, and he's done few issues here and there during this era, but this dude pretty much, I feel like, left comic books. I just don't remember seeing him in much outside of this era. He done a couple of Eric Larson's. I mean, I know he was in Spider-Man. He was in a couple of things, but not very many. And I actually thought that his style was very I mean, it was perfect for all these Image wannabe artists that Marvel and DC were employing. Heck, even I'm surprised no someone at Image didn't snatch him up, because again, look at all this hatching that this dude does. So, and Mockingbird goes, Brock, this is the guy I told you was in charge of the operation. And Wonder Man says, that's right. I caught up with him in the central control room of the bogus shield shop. And then he goes, I love the mullet. Okay, Bright Boy, spill it. Tell them what you told me. And so he says, of course. Now that we have accomplished the goal of this operation, there's no need to maintain a security screen. This was not a KGB operation, as Mockingbird deduced. The KGB simply is in charge of our detention cells, where she was held until her escape this morning. Security and detention are what the KGB does best, after all. So, and again, look at all this hatching that this dude does. And John Byrne's not a hatcher. That's why this stood out. This stood out to me because John Byrne's style isn't all this hatching, but this dude put hatch marks everywhere. I mean, even here, just hatch, and I mean for no, just hatching. So, and Maki says, you could say that, but if you're not KGB, how come you're so chummy with them? Who are you, Brock? And he says, as a matter of fact, Agent Morse, I happen to be a field operative of the Canadian Secret Service. And Wanda's like, Canadian? So, and Canadians. That's funny. Wonder Man says, ain't that a kick in the head? Canadian spies. Well, be having to worry about the Australians next. And the guy goes, well, since you mention it, my deputy chief happens to be Australia, Wonder Woman. Oh, sorry, Wonder Man. You see, Scarlet Witch, this operation was a worldwide joint venture. Virtually every security network on it sent one or more representatives to protect their interests in this project. The American CIA, British MI7, the French, whatever, the KGB, and then she's like, why? The Vision wasn't hurting you. He was completely cured of the madness that made him try to seize global powers. And he's like, so you Avengers said, and I was told, and as I told Mockingbird, that was acceptable to us, provided the Vision remained outside the Avengers. But you and he recently rejoined, however, and he once again has access to your super sophisticated computers. So we decided to set aside our individual differences for a while at least and deal with this potential problem before it realized its potential. Ironic, isn't it? The Vision's intent when he seized control of the computers was to unite the nations of the worlds. Now, at least temporarily, he has done that. And Scarlet Witch says, I suppose you think that's very funny, Mr. Brock, but you're forgetting one very important detail. The very thing which allowed you to do this to the Vision, the fact that he is an android, which means we can restore him, but you took him apart, Brock. You took him apart, Brock, but we can't put him back together again. Uh, sorry, but we can. I thought it should said can, but we can't put him together again. And so off panel, I'm afraid it's not that simple, Wanda. Hank, how long have you been standing there? So that's Hank Pym here. Long enough to know we've got ourselves a serious problem here, Simon. But why, Hank? You're an expert in the field of biology and robotics. You can put the vision together back again, can't you? Maybe. I'm reasonably familiar with his system as well as, you know, I even took a little stroll through his insides once during my Ant-Man days. So, um, but that's not really what worries me, Wanda. What worries me is that what will is what will do if he's really been totally erased, as Mockingbird seems to think. Quite frankly, I don't know how we'll deal with that, he says here. So, man, John Byrne loves to put words in there, and then he criticized Chris Claremont for putting too many words, and this guy is wordy as well. Goodness gracious. So, Scarlet Witch says, "How can that be a problem? The Vision's brain patterns were copied from Simon's. We only have to repeat that process, don't we?" And Hank Pym says, "I wish it were that easy, Wanda, but that would only recreate the matrix on which the Vision's mind was formed. Without the accumulated data that comprised the Vision's particular memory, that matrix would be like a blank canvas, and we have nothing to paint on with it." So, Wanda says the Vision kept a backup memory file stored in the Avengers computers. That would only be complete up to the last time he updated it, but. And so Hank says Brock's team planted a tapeworm in our computer, Wanda. That would be a computer virus. All programs dealing with the Vision, including that one, have been expunged from every computer system the Avengers timeshare with. Man, he should have kept the hard drive on his house. And the Wanda says, "Hank, no, please tell me you're not saying. I just don't want you to get your hopes up, Wanda. Let's deal with putting him back together first. I still have no idea how easy that will be. You know, the Vision used to be the original Human Torch, and even though he was built 50 years ago, the old Torch was the most sophisticated android we ever created." And so, off panel here, that sounds like a cue for me to make my dramatic entrance. And so, of course, if you remember from last issue here, um, the the Wasp had found someone, and turns out it was Phineas Horton, the original creator of the original Human Torch here. So John Byrne bringing him back again. Look at all the hatching that is being done, which is not normally John Byrne's forte. But this dude is really. I'll look him up after this to see. Maybe you guys should Google him, see if he's still around or what the heck. But so the Scarlet Witch said that they thought he was dead and had died in the Vision's arm, and these guys all concur here. So, and so they were looking for someone and ended up that would be similar, like maybe a relative of his, but they ended up finding him and alive. So, and so we're going to get the first bomb dropped to us because this is John Byrne after all. So, this case, Hank Pym says, well, if you're the real Professor Horton, then you're a godsend at this moment. And Brock says, that's what we thought too, Pym. But as it turns out, Horton being alive was only one bombshell we're going to uncover. Tell them, Professor. Tell them what you told us about the Vision. And he says, I'm still very confused by all this. You told me that this robot was supposed to be my poor lost torch, but I have never seen this construct before. This is not my work. So, what is going on? So, elsewhere now, we have Hawkeye here. So he's walking around and says this some of it is real, but some of it is mock up like a movie set. So as Hawkeye continues to investigate, you hear a growl here, and he's like, "What's that?" And so he's gonna check it out because it says it sounds like Tigra, and there she is, and this guy's like, "You're Hawkeye, help us, for God's sake, stop her!" And here comes Tigra, who is if you've been following sort of what John Byrne's been doing, he has been doing this kind of like getting her more wild. And so he's like, "It's me, Hawk. What's gotten into you?" And she goes, and attacks Hawkeye here. And now we're now in Texas here, and we got these people. "Very well, ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin. If we are to proceed beyond this point, we must finalize our selection of a suitable subject. We've compiled a listing of some prosperous number one. Each one of these has desired attributes, although I would vote no on this one." Agreed. So we've got Archangel here, and so here they go through all these people here, and look at this Apocalypse and oh my God, Avalanche. I don't know who this is. It's too weak here, but the Beast, the Blob, Caliban, Callisto, Cannonball, oh my God, Black Tom, Cloak, Colossus, Cyclops. Look at this, dead. This is when the X-Men went through the Siege Perilous in Fall of the Mutants. This I don't know who this would be. This would be Dagger, Dazzler, um, Destiny, Firestarter. But if this is Firestarter, then who the heck is this? Um, Craven the Hunter, Havoc, Iceman. Is this Moira McTaggart? Um, Legion, the Multiple Man. Uh, this Magic. So are these New Mutants? So this would be Cypher then. And is this Liana then? Magic, Magma, Magneto, Polaris. I don't know who this is. Um, I don't know. These are like the same two I thought. Okay, and Mastermind. So, and then we get Mesmero, Mystique. I don't. I know who she is, but I can't. A Nightcrawler, Phoenix, Pyro, Quicksilver, Rogue. Don't know who this would be. And a saber tooth. So everyone's dead or a no or too powerful. And suddenly they get the Scarlet Witch, and this guy's like, yes. So this is gonna lead to the next, which is actually pretty cool because this whole thing will lead to Bendis's run, and No More Mutants. So here's kind of where I wanted to get to this Mike Macklin, and look at this here, just tick 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 tick, a lot of hatching. So, all right, so they're taking Horton here, and Scarlet Witch still isn't convinced that that's who he was. And she's like confused as to why she would say the vision's not who he was, why he would lie. And Hank says, "I don't know, Wanda, unless somehow it's not." And so this guy asks Hank Pym what he wants done with all these people here. And he says, "I'm afraid there's not a whole lot you can do, officer. I'm sure you'll find this operational was government approval. And even if it doesn't, doubtless Mr. Brock and the rest of these foreign nationals would claim diplomatic immunity." And of course, he says, "Very astute." And so the Wasp says, "Then there's nothing we can do. They kidnap one of us, disassemble him, and we get to stand around with an egg in our face. But at least we can register a complaint with the agents. So for all the good that'll do. So they've got Tigra, and so everything kind of got worked out off panel here. So they're gonna leave, and Wanda says, "I'll be right with you as soon as I'm done here," and she's gonna use her power to destroy this building, make sure that they know what what she's capable of. Oh, we do know. So here comes the Quinjet. They're heading into their headquarters, and here they have the Vision with them. They're bringing everything that they need. They're gonna try to get him in, and so they go. They see an internal distress signal. Somebody must have pushed the panic button, and of course, she says her kids. The she had a babysitters, and she goes, "No, those monsters can't have come from my children too." And so she comes in and she goes, "What happened?" "Oh, Miss Wanda, Tommy, Billy, I was giving them their bath this morning. I looked away for a second, and when I looked back, they were gone, just gone." And when she gets through, she goes, and here they are. And she holds him, and he goes, "What? I searched everywhere." Um, so um, she go- the Wasp says, "What's going on here?" "I think that is for Miss Bach to explain, Janet. Apparently, when I interviewed her for this position, I should have asked if she had a sixth sense of humor. And you may pack your things and leave, Miss Bach. Your services are no longer required." And she's like, and she's like, "You have to believe me. Those babies were gone, vanished without a trace." And the Wasp says, "Wow, she sounds like she really means it. And yet, from what I saw of them, William and Thomas didn't seem affected or down." And she goes, "Calm down, Miss Bach. I'm afraid this is quite out of my hands. I'm no longer Avengers chairman. Even if I were, I couldn't do anything more than offer advice in the Scarlet Witch's private. I'll make sure you get the proper severance pay, though." And she says, "Thank you." Um, and so um, Wanda's sitting here with her kids, and here comes Wonder Man. These two were, I believe, in a relationship before the Vision. I know her whole being married to an android is quite weird here. So it's 3 a.m. And Hank Pym is still working on assembling the Vision. Hank says it's kind of like putting in a puzzle. Each piece goes only somewhere. I don't quite think like that, but hey, that's all right. We'll go with it. Of course, there's no blueprints, no guide, so everything has to be done here. So we're just gonna kind of move on here. They're just gonna have, they talk a little bit about the Vision, they talk a little bit about their relationship with him, with Simon, when they believed he was dead, but he keeps coming back because he's got that side. He's made out of energy, basically, so he doesn't die. So you hear this stuff, and he opens the door, and of course, boom, here comes the Vision. But he looks different here, and so she recognizes him. But they're like, "Hey, I don't think he recognizes you." And she's like, "Of course he does." But of course he doesn't, as he throws her away here. And this is a great panel here. This just looks awesome. And Wonder Man then goes to grab the Vision, but the Vision, of course, is not to be grabbed. John Byrne is such a good storyteller. I'm a huge fan of John Byrne here. So, again, look at the hatching. This is just something here. And they colored his ear. This is awesome. So, and it's funny how in these reprints they just use the same stuff. That's why they don't fix um, the errors. So, and so he's thinking about Tigra, about some of the stuff that happened in there, how she tried to attack him, but he promised he wouldn't tell the others. So he thinks something's going on, and then he hears this clong, and now he sees Vision fighting Wonder Man. So of course he just shoots with the arrows because hey, that's what he does in here. But the Vision snaps out of it. And Simon, Wonder Man here says, Wanda, you've got to do something. Brute Force isn't going to stop him. We need your powers. She's like, no. Again, look at all this hatching here. And while these two beg here comes, he grabs Hawkeye here. So, and she's like, I can't control this, and if I may make him explode and leave him beyond repair. And she's like, you've got to take that chance. Do it now before he kills Hawkeye or me. But he keeps coming back, so who cares? He's like, no, no, forgive me. I just can't. I can't. And so off panel, that's all right, Wanda. Here comes Hank Pym here and says, you don't have to do anything. I can handle this, and presses the button, and down goes the Vision here. Says it's the neutralizer box people used on the Vision so they could kidnap him in the first place. I'd have used it sooner, but I was unconscious. I failed to consider when I reactivated the Vision that, as mindless states, his first reaction might be defensive. So, and so it says here they've got a call to make. So the Vision, or no, I'm sorry, the Hawkeye demands the government liaison to do something, and he's like, nope, we're not doing anything. He's your problem now. And he says you should just reprogram him, and of course Hank Pym says reprogram. It's not as easy as that. And they're like, for all intent and purposes, he's dead. And they're like, whatever. Again, not our problem here. So, and he says that they have assigned a new member to the team. And he's like, what? And so here we go. This is the part that in the beginning I was telling you that I haven't caught up to. So we see someone on a bike running through here. And they're like, going to see who it is. Now it looks like Captain America, right? But when they open the door, they're like, uh-oh. And Hawkeye's like, oh no. And we've got the Captain, but this is not the Steve Rogers Captain. This is John Walker, who was Captain America. He replaced Steve Rogers, but then Steve Rogers came back and he says, oh yes, face it, boys. This little jamboree just joined the major leagues. And we've got this awesome splash page. Next issue, new faces. Look at that. That is just awesome. West Coast Avengers number 44 by John Byrne, writer, penciler, and Mike Macklin. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.